Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades, and what are we getting into? We are getting into the very last episode of series 1 of The Day of the Jackal. So we are now on episode 10, the all fated episode 10, because I had all my hypotheses and everything down, thinking, you know, certain things is going to happen. I think I called some pointers right, but not all pointers were right. Okay, but before we get into this video, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because you know what, we are still on the road to 1k. What can I say about this episode? Oh my god, it did not disappoint. It really did not disappoint. Even down when it came to the end, it shocked me to hell and back, because I was not expecting the ending in the way it went at the end of the day. So I was at the point where, will Bianca get her man? Will she figure out who the Jackal is? Will she be able to investigate under the radar? Because, you know, the investigation had been shut down by Isabella. You know what? Not one person corrected me when I kept on calling Isabella Julia. All y'all knew who the boss of Bianca was, but I couldn't rightly remember her name, and I kept on calling her Julia, and it's not. It was Isabel. Okay. Anyway, I stood corrected in this episode because I found out who it was. Right, so we're back in Spain, and Nuria is the wife of Charles, basically. So she gets a call from a police inspector while she's with her kid, and I'm like, oh, this cannot be good. If the police are calling their house, that means, you know what, they're on the radar, which is not good for them at all, and it's definitely not good for Charles or the Jackal. So as it comes about, basically, before we get to see why the police have called Nuria, we get to see the Jackal in a car in Croatia, still trying to get away from the whole scene scenario. So he's managed to make it off the boat somehow, you know, the one where he killed the person who owned the boat. So he drove off with him, because he didn't even drop that man overboard at the end of the day. So he managed to get away. So you see, he can see that the police are searching overhead in helicopter. Nobody's chasing him at this moment in time. But what happens is he ends up coming to a police checkpoint, and this is straight after he gets a text from his wife to say that, you know, the police in Spain have his brother. What if he talks? Now, Charles can't deal with that at that point in time, because he's got bigger fish to fry in the fact that this man has now been stopped at police checkpoint. He tries to reverse back, but somebody else has already come behind him. So I was like, oh, this may not end well at all. This may not go the way that the Jackal wants it to go. So as he can't reverse, the Jackal ends up taking his little handgun out of his, wherever he's secreted it in the car, and puts it under his leg, because the police officer's saying, oh, we have to check the car now. If they check the car, they're going to see his bespoke gun. Make no doubt about it, because he's had not time to put that shit away, break it down, put it away. There's no way he's going to be able to do that. So he does the next best thing. Instead of trying to shoot people, he literally ramrods the freaking police cordon, knocks a police officer over, and just literally makes a run for it. That's what he does. So literally now he's got a target on his back. I did say from the last episode, I don't know how he was going to make his getaway, but this is how he decided that he was going to get it. All I want to say is the police officers were shit. They were piss poor at trying to stop this man. I mean, even down to the point where he managed to get one of the police officers crash into the steps of someone's house. The other police officer spiked his own fucking car. How you do that, I do not know at the end of the day. And then with the others, he literally, each and every one of them ended up fading away, because he was able to get rid of them. I was like, yeah, that was really not the greatest police chase ever. So it had my heart racing, and that was just the opening sequence of the place. I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of hoping that Charles would get away. And I know it's a madness because Charles is an absolute, like, you know, despot. He's a killer. We know he kills people for a living. That's what he does. But also he kills people on the side in terms of people that he doesn't really want to kill, innocents. Yeah. But he ends up doing it because it's a means to an end for him. He's able to get away and not be recognized by people. But then also he has this other softer side to him, which is quite weird. It's a bit of an anomaly. That's how I can describe Charles. He's a bit of an anomaly. And even though we knew how he became into the role of the Jackal, also it's certain things about him have got to stem from his childhood, and that's something that we don't know about this man at all. We don't know what type of childhood he's had. We don't know who his parents were, how they were as parents, and why he became the person that he truly is. Do you know what I mean? But as we jump back into it, we see that it's being talked about on the news, and you see Rudy, or UDC's close friend, talking in regards to like the fact what it's felt like losing him and the fact that he did get killed. So we see the person who was the go-between between the Jackal and the people that hired him, basically his hired babysitter, basically, watching it all unfold on the TV in regards to UDC being killed.
I lost my dear friend, my confidant, and a beacon of hope, spurred indefinitely the release of River.
And there are a few loose ends need to be considered.
So now we know these rich people have got what they wanted because they've postponed the release of River indefinitely. We knew it was going to happen. We knew the friend that he tried to get him to promise that whatever happens to me, you will make sure that, you know, River is released. That was never going to happen because at the end of the day, he didn't have the backing that Rudy does. He didn't have that temerity that Rudy does. But then also on top of that, I have an inkling that he had something to do with it. Like, I still believe that he had something to do with it, and that's why he's not pushing for it to be released, because he folded very, very quickly in regards to what it was that the board wanted. So the upper echelons, the people who decided that they wanted the Jackal to do their bidding, is of course very, very, very happy that they've got what they wanted. I said, because you know what, rich people are callous, you know, especially rich people are very, very, very callous, because now this man, it doesn't stop there with them. This man now needs all the loose ends tidied up. So that means he needs the Jackal tidied up. He needs the person who was the go-between tidied up on top of that. So I was just like, wow. After it's, but I kind of think as well that, you know, the Jackal is protected to a point. So Bianca is right, the Jackal is very much protected, but I honestly believe that it is to a point, because even though he's done their bidding, they don't get involved in order to be able to create a situation where he can literally leave of his own free will in Croatia. No, this man still has to go through trouble and strife to try and get his ass on a plane back to his wife and child, basically. And the shit and loopholes that he freaking puts himself through is something I would say of a spectacular run at the end of the day. So we see Bianca, and she's at work, and she's speaking to Isabel in terms of the man that got killed, the Spanish gangster that got killed, and it had all the hallmarks of the Jackal. And what Bianca said, which is completely right, that, you know what, this wasn't a hired kill, this was more of a personal kill, because it was in Spain. He's not ranking with anybody, so why would he do it? So as I said, Bianca is fully along the right lines, but Isabel's not going to allow it. She is not going to allow it. She is telling this girl, like, you know, this is case closed. And the way in which Isabel was talking made me go back to my original thought that Isabel is the leak. Isabel is the mole. Isabel is working with these people to try and get something out of it that she wants. This is why she's going to try her best to keep this investigation closed, because if anything comes out about it, her name is going to be linked to every other person as it goes up at the end of the day. So it's the fact that Isabel turns around in Bianca's face and tries to tell Bianca that she failed, yeah, in doing what it is that she set out to do, when knowing full well that she didn't.
Full-time lowlife in Spain killed 2 days ago, identical to the UTC hit. It has to be the same killer. So I'm thinking it's a personal.
The case is closed, Bianca.
You don't think we owe it to the people who have died?
You failed. Sometimes that is the job. I need people who are team play.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you need to take some time out, possibly permanent.
I cannot even allow you to finish that sentence. I quit.
Then she turns around and she says to Bianca about her taking some time out, or taking some time out permanently. And that's when Bianca started to read between the lines, as if to say, you know what, something ain't too right with this woman right here. Because now she wants Bianca to be part of the team and be a team player, which is me. You roll over and play dead when I tell you to roll over and play dead at the end of the day. Stop sticking your beak into situations that don't concern you. Now, Bianca is starting to get a little bit of that sixth sense, or that, you know, you get that gut instinct about Isabel, that something just ain't quite right with her, because Isabel is going to try her hardest to shut Bianca down from doing what it is that she knows she may well do. So Bianca decides that, you know what, I ain't doing this no more. I ain't going to follow your lead because I know something is off. So Bianca decides that she's going to quit her job, which was the best thing for her at the end of the day. But in that essence, Isabel will no longer have any type of control of Bianca at all. So at first, the storyline was not hitting me straight away, but as things started to play out, I started to get exactly where it was going. So as Bianca walks out of the office, having given a notice in, basically, Isabel actually smiles like, exactly what I needed. I've got rid of the tearaway, the trouble that I don't need hanging over my head like the sword of Damocles, basically. But no mistake, now that Isabel has got into bed with these people, she's going to catch fleas and come up with fleas at the end of the day. She should not get comfortable in her position, because they will be able to do something to her in quick succession in a way that they've managed to do things to other people. This does not just go away on its own. You sell your soul to the freaking devil and you will be burnt for your penance for it. Let's just put it this way. So as Bianca's leaving, she's about to go into the lift, and the foreign secretary comes out. Bianca looks like this is a little bit suspicious. Now they greet each other as she passes through and goes into the lift, and Bianca's watching him like as if to say, well, what are you doing here, as he's making his way through the office to go and speak to Isabel at the end of the day. So that information needs to be stored away, in terms of when I believed that Isabel was the leak. Now this just concludes that she's an utter leak, and she's working with the foreign secretary and with the people who hired the hit on the Jackal. So you see the foreign secretary come into the office, and he sits there and he congratulates Julia, you see I've gone back to calling her Julia, Isabel, yeah. And he starts to want to talk about Bianca. She explains to him that, you know what, I'll be receiving a resignation from her at the end of the day. So at this point I was kind of thinking, okay, so now Bianca's in the mix. Are they going to hatch a plan to try and get rid of Bianca at the end of the day? Because she knows a lot. Like, she literally knows a lot, and they know that she's very clever. And if she really wanted to go rogue, she could go rogue if she really wanted to find out the truth of what the fuck is happening, because they know that each step that she takes, she could damage each and every one of them. So the foreign secretary turns around and basically says that zeal outside the tent tends to be a problem, basically. So these people do not care as long as they can cover their own backs. And now Isabel is getting it. This will never be over for her at the end of the day. Never be over for her. So they're going to hatch a plan basically to kill Bianca. So Isabel tries to protect Bianca at that point in time, basically saying that, you know what, I don't think she's simpatico. So basically now Isabel knows that they're calling for the murder of Bianca, basically. So basically what they want her to do is to reopen the investigation, have Bianca head it up, and she needs to go out, apprehend the Jackal, or basically kill him. That's what they want. And then in turn, in that mission, Bianca gets killed. That's what they want to have happen. They don't want her to be able to apprehend him, for him to be brought to no prison cell to speak on anything, yeah, because that will be the demise of them all. So they know Bianca is clever enough to knit every little bit together, yeah, so they need to kill Bianca too. So she's been brought into that pool, and this is why I said, I think it was the second episode that I did, when I did the first and second episodes together, that I said, this job will be the death of Bianca, and it literally will be the death of Bianca, basically.
Our plan worked. Well done. So what is the situation with a rather overzealous officer?
But don't worry, it's in hand. I've shut it down.
That's unfortunate. You're outside the tent tends to be rather problem.
Don't think she'll go rogue, if that's what you
Be
mean.
nice to be able to provide them with some clues.
Just that I don't think Bianca is sympathetic.
Do I have to spell it out? Let her deal with him, and then let us deal with her.
So they want to let Bianca loose to get the Jackal. Ends up flipping back to the Jackal, basically, and he ends up getting into a fender bender, because basically as he's racing down the streets to literally get to the point of contact where he needs to get get his ass out of Croatia, he ends up swerving to avoid a child who's coming to the street to collect his ball. So he's ended up going ass over ends, basically. You don't see how that's impacted him until it quickly shifts you back to Nuri getting her brother out of jail. And she literally tells her brother to get out of her life because she's sick to death of it, because now he's literally brought certain people into her life that she doesn't need bringing into her life. She doesn't need that trouble on her doorstep, especially when she's saying that she doesn't realise that Charles did her brother a favour at the end of the day. But if he keeps talking the way he keeps on talking, he will be next. He honestly will be next. Charles will kill his backside dead before he even can say hello. Do you know what I mean? So it's then swiftly moves back over to Charles, you find he's knocked out in this car. Basically, the car is fucked. It's on fire. He does wake up, and someone does come down to his rescue, and this person's already called the police and about to call the medics, and Charles is like saying, you know what, I need your help, get me out of here. So as he's pulled him out, I'm just like, I hope Charles does not kill him, because already at the end of the day, this man's already called the police, which is what Charles really did not want at the end of the day. So as he's pulling his stuff out, because he's hurt because, you know, he's been in a major fender bender, he pulls the gun out, the bespoke gun out, and this man sees it, literally is like, oh my god, what the fuck have I just done? So basically what Charles then does is brings out his handgun, points it at him, and he's like, please don't kill me. Takes the man's phone and takes the man's van. Now he knew he couldn't do away with the man, because now the man's recognized him, knows what he looks like. As he's gone to the van, the kid that he nearly runs over is on the balcony with his mother, and his mother's on the phone too. So now he's looked up, they've recognized him. So you can't fucking kill everybody at the end of the day. So what does he do? He jumps in the car and goes about his business. That's what he does. They've seen him now, so there's nothing more that he can do. So he just gets in the van and continues on his journey. So then we flip very quickly over to Bianca, because it's like it's coming in and out on both of them, because both of them are on this trajectory. Bianca and the Jackal are on this trajectory, and it's only going to work out well for one of them. Let's just put it that way. It's only going to work out well for one of them. It can't work out well for both. So you see Bianca go to her husband's place of work, basically telling him that she wants him back, tells him that she left her job and wants her family back. My thought on that is Bianca could have done that ages ago, but she didn't, because she's very much obsessed with the Jackal, and she was very much married to that investigation, that she didn't see no other person around her but that investigation at the end of the day. So I think it's more so her wanting that sense of familiarity back around her, because of the fact that now she's literally walked out of a job. She doesn't have that familiar space, that space in which she can be totally who it is that she wants to be. So the next best thing is for her is to go back into the family unit that she kind of let go of in the first place. So her family were not her first choice, to be fair. Let's just put it this way. Bianca is still the villain. like technically still the villain, as is the Jackal at the end of the day. So all I want to know is that when the call comes a knocking in terms of the Jackal and the investigation being reopened, because you know Isabel is going to come and find Bianca to reopen, to get her back on board. Yeah, will she forsake her family again? That is the question that needed to be answered, and we will get there in quick succession. So it kind of flips all the way back over, and we go back to Charles, aka the Jackal, aka Dolan. Right, so the van that he's stolen, he ends up burning it out and pushing it off a cliff. He tries to change his appearance, but not by much. All the man does really is just scrape his hair forward and put on a pair of glasses. Like, we don't know who the fuck you are, Charles. Of course we do. Like, so we see him watching a couple. It's an older couple at a camping site. So it looks like this older couple travels in their camper van around different sites, parks up. You know, it's not an official campsite, and makes it their home for however many nights they need to. So he watches them. So as he's watching them, he puts on his wedding ring, because he knows exactly what he's going to do. So
You speak English by any chance?
We do our best. Those grumpy sods, my husband, Trevor.
I think he does that to make himself appear to be more approachable to them. Now, Liz is the woman's name, and Trevor is the man's name at the end of the day. Now, Liz is very open, homely, what have you, wanting to help him and support him any way she can. Trevor, he is very suspicious of him. Like, he does not like a person encroaching on his space, and you can tell that. So you see that the Jackal has put a whole story together in terms of, you know, this high blood pressure. He's got numb in his hand. He probably needs to go to the doctors or sit down for a bit, and they've said no, we need to take you to Liz said no, we need to take you to the hospital. So that's how he gets the in, basically. So he asks if he could be dropped to the hospital, and he waits for a bit. Like, Liz is very gung-ho, wanting to support and help. So they wait for Trevor to catch up, and Trevor says, come on then, what are you waiting for? So we'll take you to the hospital, because Trevor is very matter of fact. He's like probably one of those black and white people, to be honest with you. So I knew shit was going to hit the fan with this whole plan, to be honest with you. Like, it wasn't going to work out well for them once they realised who it was that they had in their midst. But they're very innocent at this point in time. So you see Bianca, she's at home with her family. And I just thought, at this point, something's going to come and destroy their peace. And as soon as that thought left my mind, knock on the door. And who was it? No other but Isabel. And I thought, my God, this woman's evil knows no bounds, because she literally comes to Bianca's family's home to get this woman back on side. Now, my thing would be, you've walked into this woman's home, you've seen her daughter, you've seen her husband, you've seen her life now, yeah? And yet you know that you dangling that freaking carrot in front of her is going to lead to her death, because you know that these people that you're hand in hand with want her dead. You know that they want you to use her to kill the Jackal legally, but then want her dead, away from her daughter, permanently away from her daughter, permanently away from her husband. And then you literally have the audacity to sit in this woman's house to convince her why she needed to come back. And I thought, I hope to God that Bianca could see through the bullshit that this woman was literally peddling, because this woman turned around and said, if she does do it, it's going to be an unsanctioned operation. Now, we know what that means when they say an unsanctioned operation. So basically, they're flying under the radar. It's not an official operation in order to literally kill the Jackal, because that's what she's telling Bianca that she wants her to do. She wants her to eliminate the Jackal. So basically, if it does go wrong, Isabel can wash her hands of it and paint Bianca as the person that ran out to go do this against her will. Because don't forget, Bianca had given him her resignation. She left her job. So now this woman has come on her doorstep wanting her to do an unsanctioned job, one that will not be on the books. I would be forever suspicious of that. And I thought, you know, as Bianca said no, that she's not going to do it, I honestly believed that Bianca actually saw the wood through the trees when it comes to Isabel. Isabel looked motherfucking stunned, let me tell you, when she said no.
Jasmine? Yeah. Is your mum?
What?
I wondered if we could have a conversation.
Hi. Hi.
I think there may be a way we can reopen the case, deliver it to its optimal conclusion.
Saying is you've changed your mind.
It's more that I've brokered an agreement. What's changed? I thought about what you said. Finish what we started. For the sake of those we've lost.
When? And how?
And it has to be under the radar. And you must eliminate him.
No.
And I thought, you must have felt that you were dealing with a stupid woman when you came and brought this story to Bianca at the end of the day. I thought Bianca didn't trust Isabel at all. So I was thinking, okay, so now what will she try? What ploy will Isabel try and get Bianca on side? So we end up going back to Charles, and he's in the van with this older couple. And they end up hitting a checkpoint, which is not good at all. So in order, because what Charles wanted to do was to get to Montenegro, because that was the way he'd be able to get past, in terms of no checks being made or anything like that. So at this point, we all know that Charles has held this couple at gunpoint. They have no choice but to follow his orders, and the hope is that they don't get killed in it. That's the hope. Okay, that was the hope. So he does end up following, Trevor does end up following Charles's directions, and they end up at a desolate road, and then he gets them to stop because he believes that they may be tired, so they may need to rest in terms of before they get to the checkpoint that they need to get to. And then it becomes a little bit surreal, because Trevor goes out to have a smoke. Charles then joins him and says, oh, what do you want to smoke too? And Charles then stands there having a smoke and a chat with him. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this seems to be level. This seems to be calm. Hopefully nothing else will happen from there. How fucking dumb was I? How dumb was I to believe that nothing else would happen at this point? Yeah. So they get on to the point of parents, and the Jackal ends up speaking about his parents and says that his parents were quite nice, reminded him of actually them too. So Trevor then rightfully said, then if they were so nice, where did you come from, basically? And then he drops his cigarette and walks off. Now this is where you see a little bit of a switch in Charles. This is where you see a little bit of the Jackal come in, because he literally stands there, and I think the memories start playing in his head where he becomes a little bit saddened. So as he goes back into the camper van with these people, as he's taking off his coat, speaking to them, he has his back turned. These older people, Trevor and Liz, were not feeble by any shape or form. So basically what ended up happening is Liz ended up stabbing him in his shoulders, like between his shoulders, ended up stabbing him. And Charles turns around and said, did you just stab me? And I was like, yeah, but she did, right in your clutch. She stabbed you the fuck out at the end of the day. Because I'm like, come on now, what did you expect them to do? You literally held them at gunpoint to do your will. They know that you are definitely a wanted man, yeah, and you've literally run roughshod over their lives, and you know that they have a family and a grandchildren, this, that and the other, and you expect them not to be scared of you. Did you expect them to try and liberate themselves from that bullshit? So I thought, oh no, oh Liz, you don't know what you've caused. But it wasn't until Charles turned around, and I swear down, I'll get the clip and I'll play the clip next after I've said this, that Charles turned around to go and grab at Liz, that you see a change, like an actual change in his face, like, oh my God, there's literally no emotion in this man. He's a cold stone bloody killer, and it doesn't matter who the frick it is. If they do him harm or make him hungry, this is the person that is going to come out. And Lord of mercy, it wasn't a pretty sight. It really wasn't nice. Like, it wasn't nice. It wasn't. So I was like, okay, so this is the face of the Jackal then. This is where the Jackal is. This is where he lives, in this part of Charles. Okay, so
A very stressful day for one of us. Sleep will do us all the world of good.
husband Trevor was quick. Like, he moved like grease fucking lightning, no matter his age, to literally jump into the fray to protect his wife, because he kind of knew what was going to happen next with the look that Charles gave his wife at the end of the day. So this husband managed to get him down, and this is why I say that all for the lethalness of Charles, he is on the thin side. He's on the skinny side, yeah. And he literally got overpowered by this man who is probably double his age. Do you know what I mean? And as they're fighting and everything like that. So they managed to grapple for the gun, and you know, as Sod's Law would have it, the gun goes off, and you're kind of like, okay, so who's got shot? So Trevor starts stepping back like this, and you see Liz looking at her, and that's when Trevor realizes, oh my God, I've got shot. Now, he isn't dead at that point, but the Jackal makes sure he's dead, because he shoots him again in his chest, and Charles just falls to the floor. And that's when Liz starts screaming. So then he kills her too, for good measure. And I was like, at this point, this man just can't stop killing people. Like, he can't stop killing people, because his one goal was to get back home to his wife and his family. I don't even think he realizes that if someone was to do the shit that he does to other people, to his wife and his son, he would not cope with life. Like, seriously, he wouldn't. He would go out on a whim and literally try and harm the people that try to harm his family, and he would know what that felt like. So that's why I can't do the commonality as to how he can literally just like switch off, and like these innocent people, especially the older people, that, you know what, their lives don't mean anything because you've literally inconvenienced me. This is the reason why I have to kill you now too. It was that bit. I would say that scene alone was a little bit too much for me, like, honestly. So it swings over to Bianca telling her family exactly what Isabel had come to visit her for and what for. Now, the way that Bianca is talking is like she's trying to convince her family that she doesn't want to go, when in actuality she does. She needs to finish this job, and Isabel has just given her the opening to literally do what it is that she set out to do, and that is to win at all costs at the end of the day. This is why I thought, like, you know, previously when I said, well, I thought Bianca actually read between the lines of what it is that Isabel was doing, but she actually didn't at the end of the day. So, as I said, she didn't really choose her family when it came to the decision of quitting. It was because she could no longer apprehend the Jackal, and then she had the bullshit that was coming her way from Isabel. So she thought, cut my lassies, let me get the frick out of here at the end of the day. So her husband then tells her to go. Her daughter emphatically does not want her to go and finish this job, and she's trying to convince her daughter, but her husband has seen it, but basically saying that we all know that you are going to do this job, so you might as well go do what you need to do, and then that's it at the end of the day. But not realizing that actually Bianca, in doing this job, is going to walk straight into her demise, and her family don't realize that. So in all essence, Bianca, if she had any type of scruples, would have listened to her daughter. Do you know what I mean? Would have listened to her daughter, but hey ho, she wants to win at all costs. So Now Bianca is trying to, at that point, convince her daughter why she has to go. And this is why I'm saying it's like, with this type of job, you cannot have both. You really can't have a family and have this job at the same time. You literally got to become a loner, and probably you could have like dalliances, a partner here or there, but if a full-blown family in this type of job, ain't gonna happen. It's not going to be conducive to what it is that you do. It's not going to be conducive to what it is that you do at all. So we turn around and it swings back to Charles, and we see him call his wife. Now this is after he's killed the two people, yeah. So he talks to his wife about wanting to go away on holiday and where they would go. And basically she's stating to him each time that if she had the choice, she just wants to stay at home. And this is where I think his wife has the realization that, you know what, something is not quite right. And she knows that danger is going to come their way. So she is basically asking him if everything's okay. And he's trying to compute to her that everything's fine. No, he's not. The Jackal was not okay at this point. He knew he had fully fucked every freaking thing up for him and his family. And he knew that them living in Spain was going to be a pipe dream at the end of the day. They would need to leave and go somewhere that nobody could freaking find them. And this is what the wife was getting in her mind. Because at the end of the day, even though she knows that, you know, he was a killer for hire, and he did that one last job, she doesn't know all the other side things that he's done in terms of killing innocent people, including this innocent couple. At the end of the day, he tried to fight him because he held them hostage to get back home to his wife and children. Yeah. So he knows he won't be able to stay undetectable for long. So his wife turns around and says to him, well, we will talk when you get home. I says, yeah, I knew, like, she knows it's going tits up for him. Like, it's just by the look on her face. So after they end that call, you see Charles completely like break down, because he knew that, you know, time is of the essence for them, and he may not have a family for very long in that sense. And I think he just kind of learned the gravity in terms of a huge payout, because that's what it all boiled down to, was the money for Charles. Yeah, that's all it boiled down to. He took a huge risk in killing UDC, and these people that hired him are not to be trusted in the slightest.
You, me, can't trust you going away.
I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to be home.
What if I send Turks and Caicos?
I'd say I'd want to be home. We are not safe.
So we see Bianca and Jake is now back on the job. I at first thought, I wonder if they will get her sidekick Jake to do the job of killing Bianca. So she tells Jake that it's only her and Isabel now. I know Bianca's not that stupid to not let anybody else know in terms of this shit that's about to go down with them. So they're in Spain now because Bianca knows that someone important to the Jackal is in Spain, even if he is not there. So the nets are very much closing in, and it's headed by Bianca, because Bianca can see exactly what is up with this guy and who he is at the end of the day. So it flips back to Charles, and of course he has to get rid of the bodies that he's just killed. So he blows up the camper van basically, and you can see that he's now crossed the border in terms of Montenegro. So Bianca is now at the police station where Nuri's brother got picked up. Charles's brother-in-law, I should say, got picked up. And basically they were talking about the man that was killed, but because they concluded that the brother-in-law had nothing to do with the incident at hand, they let him go. So Bianca is quite harsh with her, basically, that they wish to find the brother-in-law and where he is. So I'm like, okay, if they manage to get the name of this brother-in-law, they're very much going to know who the fucking sister is, and essentially lead them to the Jackal at the end of the day.
Who the man was?
Yes.
With him?
We saved you the trouble.
Is he still in custody?
No.
It would be really helpful if we could talk to him.
I said we have concluded he is not in.
All we need is a name. That's it. And then we'll stop bothering you.
Álvaro González Martín.
Muchas gracias. Local?
His sister is married to a rich man.
Who's the rich man?
Charles Calthrope.
So I thought, okay, is this going to be the penultimate end of the Jackal on this series? As I would then say, well, what was the use of them finding out, especially as we know there's going to be a second series of this? So I was thinking, well, where's it going to go from here? So it was Jake that ended up sweet talking the inspector into giving the name of the brother. So, but then when they tried to talk about it a bit further in regards to, like, does he have a house, this, that and the other, and any steady jobs, and they were like, no. And then it leads into the fact that basically his sister is married to a rich man. And I said, okay, that's when it perked. You know, the ears went up with Bianca. Says, rich man, and he's English. Okay. So they gave the name to Bianca of Charles Calthrope. I was like, okay, now they've got him. Now they've got him, and then now they've got him. So all this time, Charles is getting home to his family. He does not know that he's going to be in danger. He does not know that Bianca now lays in wait for him and is set to kill him, basically. So after all this, we know that Charles still ain't been paid. He went onto his covert platform, got in touch with the link that was the go-between between these people, and she basically tells him that they will arrange prompt settlement. And I thought, mate, from the time that they've put a hex above your freaking head and they want you dead along with Bianca, you ain't getting no payday. They just wanted you to off this man for free, basically, and then get rid of the baggage after that. So yeah, we all know how Charles feels about not being paid for a debt, yeah, that he's fulfilled. So the person who is in essence, as I say, babysitting the Jackal at the time to make sure the job was done, is basically going to take another job to be a go-between for the people who she paid for in regards to Charles and getting him on board. So she's talking to the woman who's involved with, like, you know, the higher ups, and they ask her specifically whether he'd spoken of a base in Spain, and she said no, not at all. He didn't reveal that type of things about himself. So this is when this woman was like, do you know what, antennas peaked, I know what's going on here. So basically she has now got in her mind that they want this man dead at the end of the day. So it was the way that the conversation went between her and this other woman that was, it was weird. It was kind of spooky at the end of the day, because they tried to play it like they have another job for her. She was like, okay, but she says it's gonna be double the fee for the Jackal at the end of the day. Now this person called Simon is going to come to the hotel that she's at to make contact with her, which is not how the jobs usually go. It's usually she makes contact with them because she works incognito. So why would this man then have to come to her hotel room is what the brain would be saying at the end of the day. So the woman says, so, oh, let's have dinner when you're back in New York, knowing full well that there will be no daylight for this person in the slightest, because this babysitter literally is part of the loose end scenario that they were talking about. But I think she kind of clicked on that something kind of suspicious, kind of eerie, kind of shitty is about to go down, basically. So then before we get to see what happens to this woman, we see Bianca and Jake staking out Charles's house. Yeah. So we do see Nuri literally, unbeknownst to her, that Bianca and Jake are there watching her with night vision goggles, looking out amongst the foliage and everything like this. So Bianca basically says that the plan has changed. She's turned around and says that she wants to take their Jackal alive because she knows that there is something much bigger that is going on than what they first believed it to be. Because at the end of the day, there's been too many people helping the Jackal, and Bianca's realised this and connected the dots. Jake basically tried to convince her that, you know what, we need to do the job that we've been told to do at the end of the day. So it's not about bringing the Jackal back alive, it's about bringing him down. That's the whole crux of it. But Bianca was having none of it.
What do you want to do?
We do what the Jackal would do. We wait.
What are we saying then?
We're gonna take him alive.
Except that's not the instructions.
The Jackals had from the start. There's something much bigger going on. The way we're gonna know who's been helping him is if we take him alive.
Bianca was having none of it. So we see Nuri, Charles's wife, back in the place. She ends up going to his room. She takes up a whole heap of money. She starts packing, because I think she's realized, as I've already said, that she's not safe in that home anymore. So this Simon now, it swings back to the situation with the babysitter, as I called her. Yeah, and Simon. So this Simon now has turned up to the hotel where she's staying at. So she's answered the phone basically and said that she's in room 205. He's got his goon to stay and keep watch while he goes up to that home. Unbeknownst to him, because they don't know what this woman looks like, she's sitting in a bar watching them. So she weren't stupid enough to stay in that room, because she knew that they were coming for her at the end of the day. So as she done is you see her literally pick up her stuff after she's had a sip of a drink and walk her ass out of that hotel. So as it kind of shoots back, you see as she walks past the lift, Simon is going in the lift. He enters her hotel room, silencer, gun, everything, knowing that he was going to kill her.
Yes,
Hi, I'm at the hotel.
room 205.
Don't ask me what happened then, because it didn't show it. And all my first thought was, I wonder if she's going to warn the Jackal that, you know what, something's coming for him, because them two had kind of a camaraderie going on. So it kind of looked like a little convoluted friendship type of thing. A taxi pulls up to the home of Charles and his wife Nuri with their baby, and you see Bianca and Jake watching. So you see Charles's wife leave with the baby. So basically it's a case of she ain't waiting for Charles to come back. She's literally leaving him, like completely leaving him, because she has realized that trouble, no matter where she goes with this man, is going to continue to hit her doorstep, and she doesn't want it anymore. So she ain't told him where she's going. She just literally upped and left. She chose that she needed safety and a life for her son, and not a life on the run with Charles at the end of the day. I just thought, okay, with her disappearing, Charles may well spiral, because now he has no home left, because with his wife and son gone, they were the only two sane parts of his world that made him normalize what the fuck it was that he was doing at the end of the day. So yeah. But then in the next clip, you see Charles leave the airport or wherever it is he dropped off at, left his suitcase, the bespoke one suitcase, on the conveyor belt, because he promised his wife after that kill he was done killing. I thought, yeah, he should have kept that shit, because he don't know what's waiting for her at home. So you see another car pulls up out front of the house. This time it is Charles, and they see that it's Charles, so they end up infiltrating the home. But I was kind of like, well, don't this man have cameras to know exactly what's going on in his yard? Because he doesn't seem to be aware. Charles doesn't seem to be aware that, you know, Bianca and her partner Jake are literally coming for him at the end of the day, as he's searching the home for Nuri. And then he has the realization that his wife and his child is gone. During that point, as he's searching for them, he gets a call. And I realized it's the babysitter that they'd had from the other people, his go-between. Literally warns him that if he is in Spain, they know where he is and they're coming for him.
Are you in Spain?
Wait, what do you mean?
Because that's where they think you are, and they're coming for you.
So Charles ends up going to his room, you know, that mirrored room that he goes into, that his wife has found, this, that and the other. You know how the story went, because I've explained it many times across the episode. So he now knows that she's gone in there, she took money, the door was left wide open, and she's literally left. So he realised, okay, so she's gone. So you see Charles literally bagging the rest of the money and the passport and the guns. Bianca and Jake are in the home, ready. The fucked up thing that happens next is Nuri's brother comes to the home. He's pissed out of his skull because this man thinks he's a gangster. He thinks he's the big I am, but he can't live without his sister at the end of the day, and he can't live without her means, which is aka the rich husband Charles. He knows that there's money in that yard. So he comes in, he hears Jake and Bianca in the home. So don't forget, this man has taken Charles's gun and as I said, thinks he's the big I am. So I just thought, you, my guy, are going to get yourself killed. And was alright. Yes, alright. They do kill him. They do. Because he ends up taking out the gun, speaking in Spanish, shoots the gun, and they shoot him dead. Now, Charles in his room heard the gunshots. So he ends up shutting all the electric off to the home and shuts the door, the safe room that he's in. Bianca says she's going upstairs. Jake to stay downstairs. So the clever thing about this room is that this door, yeah, even though it's mirrored, Charles can see out of it. But the way in which they sequenced it was so cool. Like, seriously, so cool. Because where Charles was, it was literally, the whole room was red. So Charles was bathed in a red light. So then when you see Bianca coming into the room with a gun, it was literally like a greyish bluish light. And then you see Bianca going to this mirror and looking at this mirror, and they're both just like on opposite ends, just looking at each other. That scene, whoever decided to do that scene and shot it in the way that they did, oh my God, it was I don't want to use the word epic, but I'm going to use the word epic again. My God, it was good. The cinematography, the blend of colours, the way in which you could tell the emotions of both those people, it was just, it was chills. Like, literally, I could not blink at that point, because I was like, does she see him? Does she see him? Does she know he's there? I mean, you could see a slight smirk on her face at that point, and I'm thinking, she knows he's behind that door, doesn't she? I think she does. But he is just literally watching her, and it's like a pause in time where you see them both just watching each other, steadily watching each other. It was brilliant. That scene was absolutely brilliant. It was literally, for me, the standoff of the century. Like, I ain't seen a standoff like that in a very long time, to be honest with you. So I do believe that Bianca believed it was a two-way mirror, that Charles could see her but she couldn't see him. I think she kind of knew that there was something there, didn't know what it was. So Bianca then ends up going downstairs, yeah, and hits an alarm, basically to say to flush him out, because she knows he's in that house, but she needs to get him out. Of course, Charles opens the door to the room, yeah, and I'm just like, they know that he's home. They ain't gonna leave until they've got him, basically. So as it kind of tails on, you see like a red dot come on the top of Bianca's head, because you know that Charles has literally got a sniper dot trained on her. So before he takes the shot, or as he takes the shot, freaking Jake has dived over from where he stood and says, get down. He ends up getting shot. He ends up getting clocked. I believe so, because it doesn't necessarily show you the shot, just that as Bianca rolls him off of her, he's literally like in no state to move. His eyes are closed and everything, so it looks like that he is dead, like dead. He's gone. That's it.
Let's flush him out.
as Bianca then starts, because Bianca isn't a trained shooter, you can tell that she's not a trained shooter, not like the Jackal anyway, because she doesn't literally sit still and listen to any sounds. She just realizes where the shot has come from and then starts like all over the place, like seriously all up on where he was stood, just constantly overshooting when she must realize the man is not there at the end of the day. So Charles had disappeared. He shut the alarm off by this point. So Bianca is basically saying that she doesn't want to kill Charles. She's talking to him, and then she calls Charles by his given name and says to him, "Why do you do it, Duggan?" Now, Charles is taken aback to the point that she's literally knows his name. So he has to, well, why do you? And that's why I've always said that Duggan and Bianca are two sides of the same coin. And she says she likes to win. And this is what we know about Bianca. She won't stop at nothing until she has what it is that she wants. And that's the same with Duggan. So he ends up moving away from the wall that he was standing at, where she'd realised where his voice was coming from. And Bianca then at this point doesn't move at all, but concentrates on where she heard his voice. And I'm like, I don't know how she managed to do that and not literally check her damn blind spots, because that whole house has many avenues to it for someone to come out from at the end of the day. And if Jake was alive at that point in time, he would have clocked that little caveat, that blind spot for her, but he wasn't. But you would have thought as a skilled agent she would know this shit, but she absolutely didn't. So the Jackal comes up behind Bianca, and you can see him literally just on her shoulder, on her peripheral, but she doesn't see him at all. So she continues to talk about helping him and talks about how it doesn't need to end this way. And he basically says it does. And as he says it does, it's too late for her to then take an action, because he's already there. He's already at her blind spot. She's realised now that he's behind her. So as she turns,
no one else needs to die to know who you are, who you're working for. Why do you do it, Duggan?
Why do you?
Because I like to win.
So do I.
I saw her leave. Let me help you. It doesn't need to end this way.
Dodge.
he shoots her. At that point, I'm gonna have to say, I definitely didn't know she was dead. Like, I didn't know she was dead because he didn't shoot her in her head. I saw the shocked look on her face, like, ugh, as you get, and then she fell back from the shock of it. And then when they did the close-up, because Charles did go over to her and look at her, Bianca was dead. Like, she was dead. Eyes open, blood running out of her mouth, dead. And I was like, no. We killed Bianca. Like, he killed her. He killed Bianca. He killed her. Like, she's not coming into the next series. He killed her. He killed her off. That's how I felt. I was like, no. How could they kill her? But then saying that, I do know if they're following, because I know there is the Day of the Jackal, an original series that they had of the Day of the Jackal, and I know that there is a book as well in regards to that. So if they're following that sequence, then, you know, it would have stood to reason that Bianca would have, like, had a demise. But yeah, she was dead. She was dead. I was gutted. I ain't gonna lie, I was gutted. So basically, the Jackal realised that, you know, these higher-ups that hired him wanted him dead, but they used Bianca in order to make it look legit. So now his wife and son are gone as well. And as I said, they were the only people who gave him a modicum of sanity, basically. So we see Duggan, as I'm going to call him, speeding away, and he's trying to call his wife. At this point, his wife is at the airport with his son, and she literally doesn't answer the call and throws her phone into the bin, basically. She throws it away. But as he's telling her on the phone that he will find her, like, not to do this because he is going to find her, he is going to come for her, we see a car just behind him, and he clocks his car speeding up. But as we clock, Charles does not speed up, Duggan does not speed up, the Jackal does not speed up at the end of the day. He's expecting that car to literally upend him, crash into him from behind, like, seriously. So it kind of slips back to London, and we see Isabella and OC, and basically she tells OC how she's been provided with the chief job, so she's got a promotion, and she wanted OC to hear it from her first. I hope to God they find the truth out about this woman, because she is corrupt as the rest of them, and she literally instigated Bianca's death, basically, so she would not get found out that she's laying in bed with freaking fleas. So now she was trying to paint it as though Bianca went rogue with Jake. That's how she's trying to paint it, and Bianca knew that she would do this to her. So OC, if he knew Bianca, would know that this is not something that she would necessarily do. So I was like, raw, especially when Isabel came to her family home, came to Bianca's family home to get her back into that job, and did not realize that Bianca had a conversation with her family at the end of the day. So Isabel is a cold, unfeeling fish. Like, I think Bianca made sure that she would have a safe fail plan, like a fail safe plan, or whatever you want to call it, for this, in the hopes that, you know, someone may listen to her. I believe that at that point the Jackal was not dead, but the car accident didn't show anymore at that point. So Isabel says to OC that, you know, they wouldn't give up no matter what. So OC turns to her and leans forward and said, "You say that like it's a bad thing." And that spooked Isabel. You could tell that really, really spooked her. And OC takes his leave because he knows something is fully up with her. So as OC goes to sit at his desk, I knew it. I knew Bianca was literally not going to trust Isabel with just that information. So what she'd done in terms of making a safety for herself and giving OC something to think about, she sent a text to OC saying, "Isabel sent me to take out the Jackal. If something happens to me, you know what happened." I thought, yeah. In the second series, Isabel's dirty deeds gonna have to come to light. Like, seriously gonna have to come to light. So what then happens from there is OC decides that he is going to delete Bianca's text, because he knows that Bianca was killed by Isabel indirectly. But right now, as people would say, well, why don't he say from something? Why don't he bring it up? OC doesn't have the power to do that. And if he tried to, they would shut him down completely, because right now, as Isabel has been promoted, she's too powerful. The people above her, the foreign secretary and all those people that were working within that little realm, are way too powerful for him to try and bring down on his own. So it moves to a different country entirely, and we see people getting off this tram. We see some feet getting off this tram, and as the camera travels up and pans up, I knew straight away with them skinny ass legs, I knew it was the Jackal, I knew it was Charles, I knew it was Duggan, and it was. He gets off the tram in another country, so he'd faked his own death. And there's a reason why he'd faked his own death, basically, because he knew that they were specifically coming for him. And he knew that if they realised that he was still alive, they'd keep coming for him no matter what. So now that Bianca is dead, he had to make it look like Bianca had caught her mark, when in actuality that she didn't, to give them people who called for his death, even though they called for him to try and do all these other things that the government tried to get him to do, to be silenced in that sense, to give a level pegging playing field. Bearing in mind, he never got paid for that job of him killing UDC for these people. So now he's going to be on the warpath for that. Let's put it that way. And then on top of that, you see him team up with the go-between who they try to get rid of. So this will be a team and a half. So now, instead of, you see him and the go-between have this conversation, and she basically provides him with the paper. So basically on the front cover of this paper shows the guy who made the call to kill him, basically, and who made the call to hire him. So without actually saying his name, she's given him all the details that he needs to have at that place in time, and basically turns to him and says, well, I know how you feel about people who don't pay debts, but the Jackal does turn to her and says to her, there's some people I've got to find first. There's someone I've got to find first. That being his wife and his child. And then as that ended out, we were then told that season 2 will be returning soon. Yeah. It was good. But I am sad that Bianca had to, like, you know, she should have chose her family and still chosen her family and let them deal with the shit that they needed to deal with as they needed to deal with it. But I know the story had to go in which the way the story had to go. So this is where the Jackal finishes my Renegades. But I'll be back with other episodes from Marry or Move On. And I'll be back with other episodes for Arcane. So please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so you know when I do videos. Please comment, like, share and do all the good things that you do, because you know I continue to be on the road to 1K. Thank you for all for rocking out with me thus far. Speak soon.